So today's topic is one of those videos where I'm actually drawing direct inspiration from some recent videos posted by some fellow creators or friends of mine, people who are in the community, of course, that I and most of you guys probably also follow. And, many times in the past I've done this, and I never have a problem sharing when I've actually been inspired by other topics from other people on YouTube. I think that's a good and smart and healthy thing to do. Obviously, you can tell by the title of this video that we're discussing Nintendo's online service, which has been a very hot topic for pretty much most of 2018. And the videos in question that kind of helped inspire this idea in me were one posted by, of course, Rich from Review Tech USA. You guys obviously know him. Great channel, huge channel, very successful, one of my favorite YouTubers. And then, of course, one also posted by RGT85, Sean Long. You guys know, good friend of mine. You know, I've done the Spawncast with him a couple of times as well. And they both made videos that I really enjoyed, actually. I liked them a lot, discussing Nintendo's online service and almost more how people are reacting to it than just the service. I guess, to be fair, Rich kind of spent most of his time talking specifically about the service. A lot of what Sean discussed was about people's reactions to the service and the fact that, for the most part, the community is not happy with what Nintendo's been doing. And so for myself, I watched these videos and I considered the ideas, the topic, Nintendo's online, the controversy we've seen, my own personal feelings, and the videos I've made on the topic. And it just got me thinking a little bit more about how Nintendo is looking at the online and how the community is reacting to it, the things that people are saying, the opinions that we're all sharing, whether Nintendo is or isn't paying attention, whether they care or whether they don't care. All of these different things, and that's kind of where I realized I had quite a bit to say on this topic. So I thought it would be fun to kind of make this video and discuss it. Now, of course, the idea of this video is whether or not actually complaining and sharing our opinions about Nintendo's online service, if they're negative, if it actually makes sense, if it's something that's going to affect change for Nintendo. Are they even going to listen? Will it even make a difference for people to complain and share these opinions? And I'm going to tell you guys near the beginning of this video, I'm not really going to be able to 100% answer that either way. So if you're coming into this video wanting to hear what Rob says, is it yes, that they're going to listen and it's going to make a difference, or no, they're not going to listen and it's not? I don't have that answer because honestly, it's really hard to say. There is evidence on both sides. That's kind of what I want to discuss. Like, I could see a reason why Nintendo would listen to people and change their online service, and why Nintendo won't listen to people and why they won't change their online service. That's what I'm going to do today, so I just want to let you guys know before I get into this, this is not a 100% definitive yes-no answer. It's an interesting idea and topic, and that's what makes it fun to talk about. Now, I do also want to remind you guys, I've shared my opinion on their online service quite a few times over the past few months, and just a quick reminder for anybody, or for anyone who maybe is new to the channel and hasn't watched those videos, my overall opinion on the online service really hasn't changed. Do I think it's great? No. Do I think that there are huge problems that ideally Nintendo should fix? Yes. Am I mad about it? Do I really care? Do I have a major problem with everything Nintendo is doing? And honestly, my answer is no, and it's always been no, and it's still no. Overall, Nintendo's quality of this service and the features they're offering, the features that are missing, all these different things that are controversies. I admit they're controversies and I don't prefer them, but I also don't truly care. I am not one of those overly angry people. I can personally deal with the facts that I'm giving Nintendo a couple of bucks a year, and I have access to my games online if and when I want to play them. It doesn't really hurt me in my wallet personally with my situation. And so my perspective is, it is what it is. It sucks. I think Nintendo should fix it, but I'm not going to really lose sleep over the fact that it's maybe not the best. But of course, that doesn't change some of the real facts. The real facts being that A, regardless of price, it is not up to par with the competition from Sony and Microsoft. And B, people in general, gamers, the gaming community, Nintendo fans, most people do not like the service and are extremely unhappy with it and are also extremely vocal. I'm sure a lot of us are familiar with that, and I'm sure a lot of you guys feel the same way. Many people are basically just pissed at Nintendo. They hate the service. They think it's nothing but absolute garbage, and they demand change. And I honestly completely understand that. It's definitely something where Nintendo should be looking at doing this. And so when we start to focus in on this situation, we see that Nintendo has a problem here. They have this service, they're asking people to pay for it for the first time in their long history as a video game developer, and people are rallying against it. And so I think, as this title suggests, that people are absolutely justified in being upset about this and asking for Nintendo to change that. They are 100% within their right, And there are so many issues with the service that it makes sense for them to complain. I mean, whether you're talking about the fact that cloud saves don't work for every game, the cell phone app and the voice chat and messaging system being a huge, if not the biggest problem, the fact that the NES games, while a neat little novelty, really don't actually satiate anyone's need for classic retro gaming on the Switch, and it's really not a great library of games, being reduced to just NES maybe isn't the most exciting. There are definitely problems there, and you know, people have a lot to say about it. Whether you're talking about Twitter rants, YouTube rants, Reddit forum posts, everyone in the world just being so vocal about how much there's problems here, there's a lot of people talking about it. And so, is this going to make a difference? Is the fact that so many people have so much to say and so much to complain about ever going to actually make a difference? Will Nintendo ever actually listen to people and start to improve their online service? There have been some recent quotes from Nintendo that talk about the fact that they're trying to get subscriber counts up, and they know that they need compelling reasons for people to do so, and they believe they have a robust, selection of options right now, and they plan on increasing the selection of options in the future. All of these things that overall sound good and I think are what people want, at least on paper. It sounds like what people want. But we need to see true evidence of it, and there certainly could be a reason to believe that Nintendo might not actually deliver on this. So, the way I see things, there are reasons to believe that complaining won't make a difference and that Nintendo is really never going to change what they're doing here. And I kind of want to explore that a little bit. To kind of answer both sides of this question, we really have to look at Nintendo's past, obviously, get an idea of how they've reacted to things in the past, and help us kind of, understand and inform what they might do in the future. As far as reasons to believe why complaining won't make a difference and Nintendo's not going to change, for me, a couple of recent examples over the past few years really stick out. And they are Nintendo's reaction to YouTube, and then, of course, the voice chat situation with Splatoon, which on the surface might sound kind of silly and like not a big deal, but I'm telling you that if you go back to 2015 when Splatoon was coming out, and I was also doing YouTube at the time still, I was a much smaller channel, I probably had like 1,000 or 1,500 subscribers or whatever, but I was still around and, very much following what Nintendo was doing and involved in a community there, and when that happened, it was a huge deal. It seems completely ridiculous and silly now, here at the end of 2018, 3 years later. But let me tell you, man, 3 years ago, it felt like the biggest controversy Nintendo had almost ever gone through. And people were really upset about it. They had so much to say. People were drawing lines in the sand over Splatoon and voice chat on the Wii U in 2015, man. And you know what? As much as people had things to say, Nintendo didn't give a damn. They never heard, they never responded, they never reacted. I don't even know if they ever released one quote in response to anything, and nothing ever changed. Splatoon came and went, and we never got the voice chat we wanted. I mean, I shouldn't say we. I never really personally cared too much about it either way, but people never got the voice chat that they wanted, and it became a huge controversy that definitely was a negative, painted Nintendo in a very negative light, a very behind-the-times kind of light. And, I mean, you could argue that it maybe impacted some people's perception of Splatoon. The good thing is Splatoon turned out to be a great game, and it sold extremely well. So there is that, which is a good thing. But overall, it was something that Nintendo never responded to. They never really showed anyone that they cared at all that people were upset about it. Of course, the YouTube thing has been a controversy for a long time as well, and that's one that's technically still going, you guys. I mean, Nintendo's very outdated and ancient approach to YouTube. Back around the same time, I want to say 2013, 2014, 2015, those kinds of years when YouTube gaming content and also a really strong Nintendo community started to slowly build. It was kind of like what I want to call the grassroots years and era of Nintendo and gaming content on YouTube. And again, I've been around for just over 5 years, so I was around as a very small, young, early YouTuber at that time, so I was paying attention very closely. And at that time, that's when we saw the beginnings of the big, I don't know, copyright sort of, video game copyright content war on YouTube. And at that time, Nintendo, while still being the worst at this, wasn't the only one. There were plenty of other companies, Capcom, Konami, Square, Sega, I don't know, I could probably list off a couple of huge ones. I'm sure the likes of Naughty Dog or Sony and Rockstar would claim content often, and it was a huge battle up-and-coming gaming creators were having to deal with as far as how do I upload gaming content that I care about. And you have to remember, Let's Plays were also the big gaming content at that time as well. Not so much nowadays, but at that time it was huge. And so even huge creators were starting to run into this. Like, suddenly we're losing our monetization, and all these companies they're robbing us of revenue, and they don't understand fair use, and they're taking, they're giving us copyright content ID strikes and all these different things on our videos, and it was a huge problem. And like I said, Nintendo, without question, was the worst, and to this day they are still the worst. And as that progressed, what we saw over the last 4 or 5 years is actually most companies have really let up on that. To tell you the truth, it's almost not even a conversation anymore, but it was a huge controversy 3, 4, 5 years ago. And Nintendo was the company that even like the slightest little 4 seconds of anything you posted that was a Nintendo first-party developed game, like all this Wii U stuff that was happening at that time, Nintendo wasn't having it. They were taking all your revenue from your video, and this is even before YouTube had started to find kind of like a middle ground between creators and copyright strikes and all these different things, or content ID, I should say, not copyright strikes, but all these different things. It was really crazy, and Nintendo never cared. People were like, Nintendo, this is crazy. This is only good for you. You should allow people to do this. You shouldn't take the revenue from creators. There's no actual copyright infringement. I mean, I guess there is, but we don't really care. You shouldn't be doing this. You know, the big argument was that this is only a positive for you, Nintendo. If people see us playing your games and enjoying it, it makes people want to go buy your games. Don't you realize we can represent your games and your company, but instead you're working against us. You're providing a huge wall and a huge barrier for us to basically be allies with you and to support you and promote you. And that was something that, again, Nintendo didn't really care about. They have given a slight answer that I'm going to get into in a moment, but what they haven't done is overall just let off the gas on this thing and just allowed people to just run free, doing what they want, post gaming footage. Who even really cares? Unfortunately, that's not Nintendo's stance. I mean, they really care, and they still don't want you using their stuff for free. So those are just 2 major examples of how Nintendo has not truly listened to people in the past and not truly let up with something they were doing that the community didn't like and rallied against, and they didn't really give a positive answer to people wanting change. And, you know, that really shows that Nintendo sometimes is very much stuck in their ways, and they want to be who they are, and they believe in the way it's always been, and they don't want to change no matter what people say and no matter what people do. But there is reason to believe that change could also happen, and it's not even just Nintendo's history. There's just precedents in general in the gaming space to see how sometimes people, the gamer and our voice, can affect change. Most immediately, an example I can give actually builds off of the YouTube thing, because while Nintendo didn't overall let up on the YouTube thing, what they did do is they did sort of try to compromise, which is better than nothing at all. It's still not the ideal answer, let's be real here, but they have tried to compromise because they did at least create the Nintendo's Creators Program. Now, I'm going to be real with you. I think the Nintendo Creators Program kind of sucks. I think it's stupid. I think it's dumb. Nintendo, I mean, YouTube already takes 30% of your ad revenue, and then Nintendo's taking another 30% or something to that effect. You would think I know how those percentages break down, but I don't, because I don't really pay too much attention to how I make money on YouTube. Like, I get a little bit of money every month, a couple $100, and it's whatever. It's just extra money. So I'm not so entrenched in this to know all the actual percentages, because it's not my job or my income. But it's something like that. You know, YouTube takes a cut, and in the Nintendo Creators Program, your first-party Nintendo stuff, if it's logged with them, then they also take a cut. And so while, again, it's still kind of skeezy and unfortunate that Nintendo's trying to take a cut, it is something. What they did do is say, okay, we're going to find a way to give you still a little bit of your earned ad revenue for posting our video game footage. And it's nice that they tried to compromise. And that definitely, without question, was born out of people voicing their opinions and voicing their dissatisfaction with the fact that Nintendo was so harsh and strict and outdated with their YouTube copyright video game footage rules. Another recent example on how video game voices can make change that isn't Nintendo related is crossplay with Sony. We all know that was a huge freaking deal like 4 or 5 months ago, man. It was like, oh my god, this Fortnite thing exposed this big problem. We're all pissed. You can't play Rocket League and Fortnite and Minecraft on PlayStation 4 and play with other gamers, and it's like a huge problem. Nintendo and Microsoft and PC content is all working together harmoniously, and Sony, the market leader in the console space, is the one company with their heads up their butts, not paying attention to the fact that people want crossplay. And, you know, I always thought that it was something that Sony was never going to pay attention to and never care about. And I was wrong, because we've seen Sony start to break those walls down. They've already let up when it comes to Fortnite. They allow crossplay with Fortnite. And there are even other companies already saying that they're in talks with Sony for their future games to allow crossplay with those games. And because of that, I firmly believe that the PlayStation 5 will launch with crossplay across the board. I think that Sony will make it from the jump with the PlayStation 5. They're going to make it a non-issue, and they're just going to allow crossplay. There's no reason to create those barriers, and I think that crossplay is the future. And again, that is 100% the result of people complaining and people being vocal. A very positive thing, a very positive change that the gamers created. And then finally, there is, in my opinion, the biggest and best and without question most high-profile example of this. And that is Microsoft, the Xbox One, and DRM. Holy freaking cow. That is, honestly, I think, by the end of my days, will be one of the biggest controversies and the loudest voice from the gamer I think I will have ever seen. That's going to be like a top 5 controversy for sure. And we all remember in 2013, Microsoft showed off the Xbox One with Don Matrick on stage. It wasn't a great performance and a great showing. They focused on all this TV stuff. No one really cared about the Kinect. And then there was the DRM thing. And we realized what that meant. You couldn't share your games with other people. You couldn't do used games and trade them in at GameStop. You had to do a 24-hour check-in with your Xbox One every day, or else everything just broke and fell apart, or whatever the case. It was a huge problem, but eventually they did course correct, and even before the Xbox One launched, 4 or 5 months later, they managed to undo all of that, and it was very impressive, man. And that was the result of, that was a result of many things. It was definitely the result of the gamer and everyone being mad, and Angry Joe making very famous video rants about it, and many other people doing the same thing. And then, of course, we also know Sony kind of sticking it right to him at E3, man. It was so insane. That was easily a combination of the gamer and Sony kind of rallying together to just give a big middle finger to Microsoft to say, you suck, this is dumb, and you're going to get smashed by the competition once your console launches if you don't fix this. And to be fair, they actually still have technically gotten smashed by Sony. But what they did do is they changed it, man. This whole crazy infrastructure that they had built in to their Xbox One and everything that made up the Xbox One, they undid that, you guys. That is such a massive win. I don't even know how to use my words to explain it. I mean, anyone who remembers that, it was only 5 years ago, so any of us who remember how that all went down, you probably have a pretty good idea, man. That was such an incredible victory, and that was something where the voice and the backlash and the complaining and the sharing of opinions made a huge company make $1 million backpedal and change everything they thought they were going to do because they knew people were unhappy, and it was going to ultimately affect sales. And so at the end of the day, when we bring this back to Nintendo in the online situation, this is where I think it's hard to definitively say yes or no that complaining about Nintendo's online will make them change it or update it. I happen to be someone who actually thinks, at the end of the day, this is just my opinion. It's not a definitive yes or no I think it's going to happen, but I would be willing to believe that Nintendo does plan on evolving and improving the online over time. How that will happen, I don't know. Does that mean it's going to solve the problems people have, like the voice chat through the phone app and stuff? Maybe, maybe not. Actually, probably not. But they might do other things that become bigger and bigger benefits, and so that would be something that could kind of offset some of the crappy things they're doing. But at the end of the day, I gave examples of where Nintendo is shown they're very stubborn, they're very stuck in their ways, and they don't care if we're going to complain, they're going to do what they're going to do anyway. But we've also seen examples where Nintendo and other companies have reacted to the backlash, to the complaining. They have backpedaled on huge plans and business models that they've had and been willing to say, okay, you know what? You guys have been loud enough. You showed us the way. You've showed us that we were making a huge mistake, and we don't want to piss you off and make you angry and lose money, so we're going to change it to make you happy. So, hey, man, Nintendo could go either way. Whether or not people should continue to complain or not, I mean, to me, I say it depends on how you complain. I think the people who are really shitty and overbearing and just obnoxious and yelling and screaming about it, and being really mean, those are the ways that I think it's not healthy to complain. But people who just make normal conversations and videos and tweets and comments and Reddit threads, having civil conversation and trying to tell Nintendo in a civil way, hey, what you're doing is kind of dumb, I don't like it, we don't like it, we'd be happier if you changed it, we'd give you more money in sales if you changed it, that's the way to do it. And so I fully support people who want to complain and share their opinion to Nintendo in that way. I think that is only healthy. And we, as the paying consumer, I think have that right, provided you do it in a civil way. So I don't know, man. What do you guys think? What do you think about the online service as it is? What do you think about people's complaints? Do you see a world where Nintendo does kind of bend to the whim of the gamer and they change it down the road? Or do you think they're going to stay stubborn forever like they have many times before? And it's never going to change. Whatever you think, I want to hear you discuss this below. And that is going to be it for me. Thanks, of course, as always, for tuning in, guys. This is Rob of Ro2R, and I'll catch you next time on another video.